podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
Blueberry.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Okay, we're all set to go. Got everything set up. And where is she? Honey, where are you?
I'm in the living room.
Why?
Because I can't come in the computer room.
Why?
Because there's a spider in front of the door. You need to step on it.
Honey, I'm not stepping on that thing. It's 10 feet tall.
Well, I'm not stepping on it.
Just crawl under it.
Ew. I'll touch its spinnerets if I crawl under it. Ew.
Fine, teleport in. I don't care. Get in here. We need to do the show.
Hold on. Okay, I'm here.
Okay. So what'd you do?
I directed the giant spider to the giant fly outside.
Ah. Okay.
Should we be concerned there's a giant fly outside?
Nope.
Okay.
You know why?
No, why?
Because it's Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Probably just two people in costumes.
Ooh, hadn't thought of that.
And it's all about the bugs this week.
Yes.
As we go big or go big screen on Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Stick around.
Bugs coming up this week, and they're big.
Ew.
Ew. Screams!
Celebrating a decade of film podcasting. Lasting out of B-Town, USA. You're tuned into Subject Cinema with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Directive.
Oh, behave. Yeah.
I volunteer as tribute.
Suppose you run your business and let me run mine. Here's looking at you, kid.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome T.C. and Kim.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Bugs.
Bugs.
Yuck. Hi, everybody.
I got bugs crawling all over me. Ew.
Ew, no, that's a different movie. That's that movie with Ashley Judd that was supposed to be really good, but creepy. Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Brown.
I'm T.C. Kirkham. Welcome to Subject Cinema. Subject Cinema number 636, October 20th, 2019.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We are in the middle of our Go Big or Go Big screen as we look at giant stuff in the movies for our Halloween shows.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done some of them before, and some of them we haven't. But we hope you'll like it and give us a ring, or at least an email at subjectcinema@PNRNetworks.com.
What's your favorite giant bug movie? We'd love to know.
Yeah, let us know, and we'll read it on the air.
Yep.
So, giant bugs.
Bugs. Yep.
And spiders.
Bugs
and arachnids.
Bugs and arachnids.
Scorpions are
yes,
arachnids
scorpions
too.
are arachnids, and that actually would count. As we mentioned when we started this whole thing this month,
Which
we're talking.
Was her idea, by the way.
Yeah, my idea. So you can blame me if it sucks.
I didn't mean that.
We're looking at giant bugs this week. Next week we'll be looking at other giant stuff as the month goes on.
Bugs do suck,
Well, some bugs
That's
suck.
how they feed, most of them.
Yeah. Well, some bugs bite, and some bugs
then
suck.
suck.
Well, yeah, it depends on the bug, I suppose. That's highly personal. We're getting into some very personal.
Family show.
I'm not
Anyway.
comfortable with this. Obviously, the whole thing with giant bugs is the fact that the reason that people have made horror movies with bugs in them and make them giant size is because, let's face it, some bugs are scary. I mean, some
and
bugs...
just even general bugs sometimes freak people out.
Yeah, bugs in general freak people out. They have more legs than we do. They have more eyes than we do.
They have pincers in some cases.
They have pincers, stingers, proboscis, what have you.
Poisonous bites.
Yeah, some of them are venomous. Some of them are, they can just... And some of them are just gross looking.
And some of them are cute, like ladybugs.
Yes. Some of them are very cute. Some of them are...
How come we haven't seen a giant ladybug movie?
Because who's going to run from that?
Well, Night of the Lepus was made.
We're going to get to that later. That's not a bug.
I know, but
But I'm sorry. Yeah, let's be perfectly frank.
What if I want to be Ernest instead?
You can be Ernest if you want. I'll be Frank.
Okay.
It's going to be one of those shows, folks. Get used to it. Let's be honest. The idea of giant bugs invading, like Anytown, USA. That could be an interesting idea for a movie. Goodness knows it's been used enough times. But let's be perfectly honest. The idea of a horde of rampaging giant ladybugs, rampaging into downtown Peoria isn't going to exactly instill...
No. They can't be in downtown Peoria.
Why?
Bernard Gordon already did that. They got to be somewhere cool, like downtown Flagstaff or someplace.
This isn't to imply that Peoria is not a lovely place.
No, which didn't imply that bugs already ate it to death.
Well, yeah. But I don't even know what ladybugs eat, so I don't know if they could be like,
Whatever they bring on the ladybug picnic beer.
Yeah, I know. And for those of you who remember that reference, congratulations, you're old.
Hey, Kim's cousin knows the whole song.
Yes, anyway.
Oh my God, that was one of the funniest things we ever saw.
Moving forward. As I said, but that is the thing though. Some bugs are cute. Ladybugs are cute.
It's rare though.
Yeah,
bees are cute. They're dangerous, but they're cute.
Well, honeybees are... No, what am I saying?
Bees
bumblebees are cute because bumblebees are all fat and round and fuzzy and they're cute.
Honeybees are cute too.
To other honeybees, maybe, but I
think they're nice looking. I wouldn't want to mess with one. I've been stung by them. I'm allergic to them. I don't like them.
Well, I'm sure bees are attractive to other bees, so we'll just leave it there. And they are nice looking, but it's odd that I remember one of the I want to say one of the Sinbad movies. They had or it was Mysterious Island or one of those. They had a giant bee that wasn't like the focus of the film. It was just one of the other many monsters they had to overcome.
Bees have not really been picked as a giant bug movie.
No.
There were hallucinatory giant bees in the swarm.
Yeah,
but they weren't real.
Usually, when you have bees in a film, and that's they're the monster, the antagonist of the film. Excuse me. It's not a giant bee, it's just a whole literal beep ton of bees that show up all at once.
It's called a swarm.
Run amok.
A very bad movie from 1978.
I love that word. Amok, 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 amok. It's just a fun word to say. But
we're going to have a kerfuffle if you're not careful.
Sorry.
Anyway.
But for the most part, the thing about bugs is the fact that they're different than us. Which is, when you think about the fact that that's basically all horror is. Horror is you versus the other, whatever the other is. And when you take something like your average, let's just go with something that's relatively non-threatening looking at its regular size. So let's just go with an ant. Just your average little regular, not army ant, not fire ant or anything like that. Just your regular little...
average worker ant.
Yeah, your average little ant that you would see just herp-derping around your house and not bothering anybody. When they're on their own, they're just this little tiny ant and they, that's it. They're an ant.
Yeah.
But if you had an ant that was, the size of a city, lengthwise the size of a city bus... That's something that your brain is not going to be able to process. Something in your brain is going to go, this is not the status quo, and your brain can't hack that. Human beings have this thing about things being just the way they're supposed to be. I think that's a thing in every human being, no matter what kind of socioeconomic background you have, that people just, if people see something that they're used to seeing one way and it's completely turned on its head, your brain doesn't know how to hack that. Your brain doesn't, you have this kind of, it's almost like people get frozen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why you see people in horror movies, the whole thing about people being frozen with fear and all that stuff like that. What that really is yes, you're afraid because, holy cow, it's a giant whatever.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just because Elsa was in the area.
No! No. And I'm not singing Let It Go for you either. So, there.
I didn't ask. That's okay. Go ahead.
Jerk.
You can, but I'm not going. I just don't. Anyway, Go ahead.
Anyway, I'd rather sing in summer because I love Olaf. Best character in the whole.
I'm afraid of Olaf.
You're not afraid of Olaf. You hate Olaf.
I'm afraid he's really annoying. Anyway.
You're so mean. But anyway, my point is.
Yes, would you hurry up and
I'm getting to my point. The fact that when people see something that isn't the way you're always used to it being, that's why people get that kind of rooted to the spot, I can't move thing. Mm-hmm. Because that's your brain going through your brain's equivalent of the blue screen of death. It is. I mean, that's, your brain can't process what it's seeing, and because if your brain shuts down, your body's not going to go anywhere. You know, and that's what happens in a lot of these movies. Now, I mentioned giant ants because that is something that people have used in films.
It was the first of the bug movies, actually. 1954's Them.
In America. We should stress that.
No, it's, according to Wikipedia, it is the first big bug feature.
Okay. All right.
I mean, let's be honest, 1954 was just Godzilla. Nothing else had been really big by that point.
Right, and that's not... Okay, all right.
Anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted,
Sorry.
Them was from 1954. It starred James Whitmore, Edmund Gwynn, Joan Weldon, James Arness. It was based on an original story by George Worthing Yates and developed into a screenplay by Ted Sherdman and Russell Hughes. It was a critically acclaimed film at the time also. It did very well with the critics. I think it was the effects were well done. It does feature a few bit parts for actors who would later go on to be bigger and better in other roles, like Fess Parker, who plays a what they believe is shell-shocked Air Force pilot, I believe it is, or Army pilot.
Yeah. Fess Parker, for those of you who may not know that name, went on to fame on the small screen as Davy Crockett in the Disneyland television series.
Yeah, other people who had smaller roles in it. There was Leonard Nimoy, John Berardino of General Hospital, Richard Deacon of the Dick Van Dyke Show, William Shallard, who would go on to be Gidget's dad and Nancy Drew's dad.
Unfortunately, Leonard Nimoy is not given any credits, which sucks.
Dick York of Bewitched fame, and a few others that you would recognize if you saw them on TV.
Yep. It's definitely one of those, hey, it's that guy film. And, of course, James Arness would go on to fame as Marshal Matt Dillon on Gunsmoke, one of the longest shows on television back in the day. Them is, now we've both seen Them.
Them is a fantastic film.
I've seen it more than once.
I have too.
It is, and I know a lot of films from the 50s and 60s and such. For those of us here in 2019, I realize that it's very easy to look back on a lot of these films and go, oh, isn't that cute? You know, when it comes to special or practical effects and things like that. But every once in a while, you stumbled across a film that actually had a budget and had people who actually were trying to scare the pants off of an audience. And that absolutely occurs with Them. Them is a story of what turns out to be a bunch of ants that have grown to an enormous size that are in the desert of New Mexico. And the thing is, they are these enormous ants. They're giant-sized ants, but they're still ants. They haven't grown in intellect or anything like that. They're doing what ants do. They keep the colony alive.
Right.
And the way you keep the colony alive is by getting food. Now, the thing is, the where you run into the problem is the fact that you've got ants doing the whole ant thing of going out and getting food and marching one by one. And that, now the thing is, the ants are these enormous sized ants, so the food is whatever they can get their hands on. Guess what we qualify as? We qualify as anything that they can get their hands and or pincers on. I think that's another reason that they wind up using giant bugs in a lot of these films, because it's a very interesting way to take humanity down a peg or 2 or 12 by using an animal that we usually think of as something that's literally beneath our feet. You know, I mean, some people can step on an ant and, you know, just go about their business and go about their day and whatever. Some people could step on an ant and sit down and cry for a half an hour.
She's raising her hand.
Yeah, you totally can't see me, but I'm totally raising
You're
my
not
hand.
afraid to kill bugs if you need to.
Well, if I have to, I don't like to. I don't want to.
No, she always calls me to do it.
Well, if I can get them out of the house, I'd rather do that. I was doing that when I was a kid, like getting a Dixie cup and, like, you know, grabbing stuff and, like, pushing it out the door or something like that. That was me. I was that kid. But I think that's why bugs are used in a lot of these films, because this is something that's literally usually so small that we don't notice them. Now all of a sudden they're looking down at us, and we're the tiny thing that they are looking at as either an inconvenience or a food source. Now, I know in some places in the world people use bugs as a food source, which is...
A lot of places except America.
Yeah.
We've been told we're very backward because we don't have bugs on the menu.
Right. There are some exceedingly frightening scenes in this film. One of them being the scene where we see one of these ants from an above-ground shot where the ant is basically cleaning house. We see the ant carrying something in its mandibles out of the ant hill, and we realize it's human bones. And I mean, that's what ants do when they get food. They don't leave it lying. They don't leave the refuse of it lying around in their little ant houses. They take them out of the ant hill and they drop them somewhere else. And we see that ant following its instincts to do that, and it, you know, the bones roll down the hill where there's a bunch of other bones. And that is it's an extremely disturbing scene. There's no words or anything like that. It's just, I think it's intensely disturbing. It's one of the most disturbing scenes in film, in my opinion, simply because you're going, how long has this been going on? You know, because there's not just 1 or 2 bones there. There's a lot. And you're like, when you think about the fact that...
Well, there's quite a few bones in a human body, too.
There are a lot of the 200 and something, yeah.
Right.
But there's also the simple fact that these ants, which is something that I didn't realize until I saw this movie, ants don't have blood. They have formic acid. They don't have, like, blood like we have blood. I don't know how strong formic acid is. I don't know if it can destroy bone. It can apparently do a hell of a job on flesh. But you don't know how many bones were just flat out dissolved.
Right.
And you also have to figure when this film was made. This was 1954.
1953, came out in 54.
Right. This is long before anything that we have now that is in regards to things, you know, people being able to, you know, go off the grid and stuff like that. So when you think that people back then, people couldn't track people when they disappeared. You couldn't, like, ping somebody's cell phone or do this, that, or the other thing to find out where someone was last seen. And people could just disappear and never get found again. And when people go into the desert, you know, it's like how many people were killed by these things before people found out, holy crap, there's this bunch of enormous ants out there eating people. You know, it's a really disturbing thought when you think about it. Did you have something you wanted to add to that? Or?
No, not really.
All right. There's another thing about this film that I want to bring up that bothers me. And this is simply on a just me level. Although I think it would bother anybody if you think about it. Mm-hmm. It's got nothing to do with the ants specifically. I mean, it does, but it's not a scene with the ants. It's the whole scene with Fess Parker's character, who was a pilot that saw these ants and was committed to a hospital, to the mental ward of a hospital.
Well, he reported them as being UFOs.
Right.
Shaped like giant ants.
Shaped like giant ants, right. The thing is, even after the government and the military and all that talked to this dude, and now they know that there are ants out there. They know what's going on. They're like, no, keep this guy in here to keep him quiet.
For right now.
Yeah. I'm sorry, that's a little more disturbing to me than the giant ants.
Well, that's how it works in the government.
That's don't you find that a little bit more horrifying?
Yes, but it happens.
The one thing that always confused me about them, though, I gotta be honest, the noise. Mm-hmm. The noise that the ants make, that kind of high-pitched, I don't know what you'd call that noise. It's a whistle or a whine or a shriek.
Shrieking, yeah.
Or what would happen if you threw a theremin down a flight of steps? I don't know.
No, he couldn't. That wouldn't work. Because theremin has to contact the between the nodes, so it would work.
I guess maybe, but it's just such a. And I mean, it adds to the film, and it adds to the undercurrent of menace through the film, because you hear that noise even before you see the ants at certain points in the film, mm-hmm. and you're like, oh crap. You know, it's such an odd sound. I mean, I'm like, did somebody put a microphone really close to an anthill and go, that's it? Or did they just blue sky that?
I don't know.
It's a weird noise. They always seem to do that with giant whatever films, you know, especially if it's something that you don't usually think of that makes noise. Mm-hmm. When they have it make a noise, for some reason you're always going, that's what it sounds like? It's just, it's odd.
And this movie led to an onslaught of giant bug and giant arachnid films in the 50s.
And giant anything.
And we'll talk about those and the films of Bert I. Gordon
when Subject Cinema returns.
TC Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
All right, Kristen, I am so excited that you've decided to do a podcast with me, but what are we going to do a podcast about? There's so many other movie podcasts. We got to do something original.
Well, you know, I'm a big fan of Disney movies. What about something like that?
That's just kid stuff. What do we want to do that for?
Did you know that The Avengers is a Disney movie? Or that Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie?
Pulp Fiction is not a Disney movie.
It's technically owned by Miramax, which is part of Disney.
We are still going to talk about the Disney animated movies, though, right?
I thought you said that was kid stuff.
Well, you know, I've got 2 kids. I got to be a good dad and stuff.
So be sure to subscribe to the Walt Sent Me podcast, where we discuss the various subsidiaries of the Walt Disney Studios, including the animated movies.
It's available on iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find great podcasts. And I swear, it's not kid stuff.
The best movies. Subject Cinema.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of...
Stop on that thing! Boom, boom.
Ow. That was my foot. You jackass.
Sorry.
I am Kim Brown, currently nursing a broken big toe.
And I'm TC Kirkham. Welcome back to Subject Cinema.
Ow.
Go big or go to big screen.
I'm going to have to go to the ER now.
Oh, you stop. It's just a scratch. Anyway, big bugs.
Big bugs.
Big bad bugs.
I like big bugs and I cannot lie.
I was actually thinking of big bug, what you gonna do earlier.
Oh, boy.
So it's like, okay. The movies of one man, mostly, I mean, there were other ones too, but this guy was the king of big bad bug movies.
Accent on bad.
Yeah. His name is Bert I. Gordon. His initials, B-I-G.
Yes.
And
for those of you who didn't get the joke, wham! This is in case you were wondering.
And he did make some of my favorite stuff. He's also, because they're just so goofy. The stories aren't bad in his films. It's the special effects that are terrible.
No, the story's pretty awful, too.
I like Beginning of the End. Beginning of the End from 1957, which is where we'll start here, I guess, is my favorite of the Barry Gordon films. It stars Peter Graves, Peggy Castle, Morris Ankrum, cameo by a few other people within. And it is a movie that has some of the worst special effects in history.
Yep.
But the storyline, the radiation growth of a swarm of locusts is not really that different from them. It's just done in a very low budget as opposed to the larger budget that Warner Brothers gave them.
I suppose.
I mean, let's face it, when the locusts/grasshoppers are attacking downtown Chicago and are climbing a postcard of the Biltmore building.
Yep.
It's terrible budget.
It's pretty bad.
But the movie itself is fun, and I love Peter Graves in this. It's one of his earlier roles, and really comes out well in here.
How that guy was not brought up on crimes against humanity, I have no idea, but,
Who?
His character. I realize he didn't mean for the giant...
They got into his stuff by accident. He wasn't even responsible.
Well, yeah, I know.
The
plot of this film, as we've mentioned before, is...
It wasn't like they were looking for the natatorium, Anyway,
Sorry. That's a button.
I gotta get that on a sound clip. I'm Peter Graves. Can you direct me to the natatorium? I'm on my way to my first swim meet here at the University of Minnesota.
It's that way.
Thank you. I'm Peter Graves. That's from Beginning of the End, the Misty version. In any case, Graves plays a scientist who's experimenting with radiation to try and help the world food supply.
Yes.
They have not yet come up with anything that has...
well, they've come up with... It actually works. They have actually made...
finished, but
I'm
that's
sorry.
Okay. They haven't come up with anything that is edible as of yet, but they have made progress on their research at the cost of his assistant's speech and hearing.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's what I was going to say was they have made progress up to a point. They the fruits and vegetables, which is all they're using so far. They're not trying to irradiate cows and make 50-foot moo cows or anything like that. But I mean, the plants do exist. It's not like they just zapped them with radiation and they exploded. It's not like, putting a tomato in a microwave or whatever, which don't do, children. That's not nice. But they have made, they showed a strawberry that was about that big?
About 2 foot, 3 foot high, yeah.
Yeah. But you can't eat it yet because it's irradiated.
Right.
The problem is that they've irradiated, these grains and fruits and vegetables, and some bugs got into them, as bugs are wont to do, and they ate some of them. Now, instead of killing them...
They ate a whole silo full of them.
Yeah, they ate...
Because it was a swarm of locusts, which is sometimes into millions of locusts.
Yeah.
And they ate a grain silo full and are now irradiated and growing like crazy.
And they have grown. They don't seem to be growing anymore. They hit a...
True enough, yeah.
They grew to a point and then stopped. Because they don't seem to... They're not getting larger through the film. They're just... They've hit the point where they're not going to grow anymore, I guess. And they've decided that they like the taste of humans, which we find out because they've completely wiped out a town in Illinois.
Ludlow.
And killed everyone in town, all 150 people, that is what you call a small town, they are missing. As in, there are no bodies, there are no, there's nothing left of these people. So apparently these locusts ate everything. And since locusts already have a reputation for being pretty ravenous when you get them in a whole bunch, that is one serious case of the munchies. And one thing that's very different with beginning of the End as opposed to other giant monster films, and actually horror films in general, usually when you have, the monster whatever the monster is.
Mm-hmm.
And you have someone that goes to the constabulary or the military, in this case, the military, not the police. And they're all like, the hero of the piece is all like, oh, there's a monster and it's killing people and you need to do something about it. Usually the military's all like, yeah, right. Not in this case. For once, the military's actually listening to the scientists who's saying,
well, once they see them for themselves.
Yeah.
They don't right away.
Yeah,
they
but
end
they
up
are
seeing
out
them
there
for themselves, and then they realize, oh, he's telling the truth.
They're out there with guns and stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, we're probably looking for nothing, and then it's like, bang, 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 run. Because the first time the soldiers and the grasshoppers meet up, it doesn't end well for the soldiers. It's kind of embarrassing. It's pretty much a rout. They get routed by Jiminy Cricket and his buddies. I think I'm sorry, but this is another one of these films that, okay, it's fun. I will admit it's fun. The misdeed version of it is much more watchable. The ending is stupid.
Well, the ending is stupid,
The ending is exceedingly stupid.
Well, I don't know. No, I wouldn't say it's exceedingly stupid, and it was repeated in The Swarm. A similar ending. But it's like...
but even the ending in The Swarm was less stupid than this. And it was filmed better.
Well, yeah, it was filmed better. But, I mean...
I bring that up for a specific shot.
Okay.
The whole point of the end of beginning of the end, when it turns out that apparently bullets don't do anything but piss these giant bugs off, Dr. Wainwright, Peter Graves' character, brings up that the Massachusetts Bay Colony, had a problem with locusts way back in the day, and they drove them into the ocean, and they drowned. So they come up with the idea that they're going to broadcast a mating call for the locusts, because we're going to assume all the locusts are male, I guess? I don't know.
Maybe they have a similar male call that, brings all of them.
I guess. I don't know. So they're going to send out this mating call sound with an oscillator, and that's going to lure the locusts to the river, Lake Michigan. It's going to lure them all into, because they're going to put the oscillator on a boat and send the boat out into Lake Michigan. Then they're going to turn it on. It's going to send out its little "let's get it on" signal, and all the locusts, all the apparently now horny locusts, are going to come running, and they're all going to jump in Lake Michigan and drown.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of you are probably going, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's one of them.
You want to know the shocking part? Spoiler alert, it works.
Yeah.
And so now, this is the scene that bothers. Well, this scene actually bothers me on several accounts. For one thing, we see a bunch of locusts drowning. And this is long before anybody put that no animals were harmed during the making of this movie thing on the end of movies, so nobody gave two craps if a bunch of bugs got drowned. Except people like me, who get upset at things like that. I'm sorry, that scene is, A, it's gross, and B, those bugs probably
You don't see anything. You just see them kind of
flailing.
In the water. Yeah,
they're flailing and drowning in the water. And then all of a sudden the water's completely clear. There's no bugs, nothing. I'm like, so they all sank
to the bottom.
They all sank to the bottom. Right. So now Lake Michigan is completely polluted with radioactive grasshopper corpses. I don't really see how this is a boon to anybody, but whatever. You get so much for your happy ending.
For all the fun that this movie is, it does disturb me in one area.
One area?
Seriously,
all right.
Me in one area.
All right.
In the movie, Peggy, what's her name?
Audrey Ames is the name of the
Audrey Ames is the name of the character. Played by Peggy
Castle.
Castle.
Right.
She is a photographer, a war photographer. renowned for her work that has appeared in Time and Newsweek and such.
Even though she's a woman, female lady of the opposite sex type.
No, that's the next movie. Anyway, no, actually, that's not actually a Bird Eye Gordon either.
No.
She goes in to take photographs of the town of Ludlow, which was wiped out by the grasshoppers. And they decide to use stock photos of someplace that was totally disastered. It was a disaster scene. I personally, although I cannot prove it, and I was just looking through the Wikipedia to see if they actually said anything. They are very similar to photographs I've seen of the aftermath of the 1955 tornado that hit Worcester, Massachusetts, which leveled a good third of the city and caused a whole bunch of deaths and destroyed a lot of stuff.
Yep.
I can't be certain. I've read books on that tornado because I live up here.
and you're a disaster junkie.
I'm a weather nerd, especially tornado stuff. And I think those came from Worcester, and I'm a little annoyed that they would use a real life tragedy for exploitation purposes.
Yeah, well.
But I can't be sure. They may come, whatever they are, they do come from a real disaster zone.
They used stock footage from the last days of World War II and invasion of the Neptune Men, i.e. the bombing of the Hitler building.
Yeah, I know that.
So, I know. It's not like it's limited to America,
No, it's not, but that in itself is kind of funny because of the placement of it in the movie. And I mean, it's
and the whole ranting that Mike and the bots go on if you watch the MST3K version.
Anyway,
moving on.
Overall, though, it is fun. They are good chemistry together. It's a little bit of...
It's a doofy movie, though.
It's a doofy movie, but it's a distracting
It's fun. It's fun doofy.
They can't be said of other Bird Eye Gordon films.
Same year, The Amazing Colossal Man came out as well. We're going to talk more about that when we talk about movies with big
He made
people.
that. He started filming that the day this opened at the theater. He made another film the following year.
Yep.
A really god-awful film.
Yep.
Called Earth versus the Spider.
Yep.
It usually played as a double feature from American International Pictures, the ever-famous and ever-dreaded AIP.
Yeah, you're going to see that a lot with this.
Usually playing on a double bill with another AIP gem, the Screaming Skull. Occasionally on a double bill with the Brain Eaters. Again, the screenplay...
I like the Screaming Skull. I think that's fun.
The screenplay was by George Worthing Yates and Laszlo Gorig, which one of those two men wrote the treatment for them, so that's pretty scary. The problem with Earth versus the Spider is it's just a bad film. Yep. It's not well made. The spider changes sizes about 80 times.
Yep.
Depending on where the camera is looking. The giant web is so fake, it's scary. I mean, it really is. And Ed Kemmer is in this. Ed was later known for Twin Peaks?
I guess.
I think. He was on some soap or nighttime soap at one point. But nobody else is really well known for him from this movie. It's just a terrible film.
It's not a good movie. As TC mentioned, the spider changes size throughout the film. Sometimes it's extremely huge. Sometimes it's kind of huge. It's never so small you could step on it. But in more than one shot of it, you're like, okay, that's frightening, but it's not horrifying. And then all of a sudden the next shot is like, oh my gosh, what happened?
I'm sorry, Ed Kemmer did a bunch of soaps in the 70s and 80s. Sorry. I knew I knew the name.
The part of this film that's so incredibly stupid, I mean, face palming, forehead slapping, what the frickin' fork are you people thinking, stupid, is actually in the middle of the film. Now, by now, the people of this nearby town know that the spider actually exists. It's in a cave. It's already killed people. It's a bona fide menace. So what they decide to do is to kill the spider with DDT. A lot of DDT. Like birth defects for everyone, DDT amounts.
They didn't know that at the time.
They didn't know that at the time, and I realized that was very crass. Smack, bad, me, no cookie. So the thing is, they chuck, all this DDT at the spider, and the spider goes, clunk. And not really, but they think, yay, the spider's dead. Do they take the spider out of the cave and, burn it in the desert? Do they call on the government to shove it in a truck and have it sent off to one of those places with the alien bodies that the government swears up and down doesn't exist? It totally does. No. They do none of those things. They take the body of the spider and bring it to the local high school and keep it in the gym so that it can be studied by science in the gym in the high school.
What other facility in a high school is large enough to hold a giant spider?
Here's a crazy idea. Don't keep it in the effing high school with the effing people.
But honey, it's about dead teenagers.
Well, now but they're all like, oh, but the spider's dead. Spoiler alert, the spider is in fact not dead. And
he's just sleeping. Because
they a bunch of teenagers, Dr. Evil quotes, decide that they're going to practice their rock and roll that they're going to perform for a dance. And, that big thing in the corner, never mind. We'll just leave him there. We'll just play 1, 2, 3, 4, twang. And
it's better than the Creeping Terror.
Not bloody much. Go on, do it.
What?
You want to do it.
What?
The music, go ahead.
I don't know the music.
I do.
It's much easier to get her to do it.
Yeah, that's the music from the Creeping Terror. I don't remember the music from this.
No, I don't either. It was bad, though.
Thank whichever deity you believe in. Needless to say, the music wakes the spider up. And the movie starts all over again with the spider killing people.
Yeah.
Screw you, movie. That's the lamest, stupid... I'm sorry. Are you serious? I mean, I know they blamed rock and roll for all kinds of, ruination of Western civilization, blah, 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 back then. But giant monsters waking back up again? Really? Screw you, movie.
Interestingly enough, though...
What?
Just knowing... I mean... Music, you'd know that music would probably revive something because of the vibrations.
I guess since spiders don't have ears.
Well, they had the same thing happen in the giant Gila monster.
Yeah.
Where the music was attracting the Gila monster. So it's like, okay, we'll get into that one later, too.
But they have ears.
They do, yes. But spiders feel vibrations. That's how they find things.
Yeah.
So there you go.
At least I'm assuming spiders don't have ears.
Just as a quick aside, one of the stars, June Kenny, who was actually 27 at the time she was playing 16, is originally from Malden, Massachusetts.
Oh, neat.
Bert wasn't done. He went into the end of the 70s, damn it.
Yeah.
With more big bug movies. This one, which Kim has seen and I have not, so she's going to talk about
Kim's seen part of it.
Empire of the Ants.
Yes.
Was part of the AIP Wells films that included Food of the Gods and The Island of Dr. Moreau in the 70s.
Yep.
This came out in 1977. I remember when it was in the theater.
Yep.
And it had a good cast. I don't know how you could how it was. You do.
Empire of the Ants, which is one of those inspired by kind of deals. Thankfully, they weren't trying to pass.
Thankfully, it wasn't inspired by true events.
Yeah, seriously. It was based loosely, very loosely. Think of the loosest thing you can think of and multiply by 10. On a short story called Empire of the Ants, written by the great science fiction writer H.G. Wells, writer of The Time Machine, and all kinds of other stuff like that. Who probably would have been appalled at what happened to his work. Empire of the Ants tells the story of a location that is being used by a land developer who is more than a little bit sketchy, who wants to get people to buy into the place that she's, beachfront place and condo schemes and all that stuff like that.
This isn't unlike the character she'd play a few years later.
Mm-hmm. Yes, played by Joan Collins. Yep.
Joan Collins
minus
the
the shoulder pads, though.
Yeah. This was pre-Alexis Carrington.
Yep.
Yeah.
As it turns out, the reason that ants have become giant in this area is because of toxic waste. A spill of toxic chemicals has changed the ants into these rampaging large ants. They're not like the ants in Them. They're not that large. I mean, they're large enough that you would be like, oh, this is bad. But they're not
the ants in Them are about the size of an average boat-sized car back then.
Yeah.
These are about the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. Would you say that's about right?
Yeah, I'd say that.
In length, they're not near about half as long or as big as the
others.
So.
I mean, they're still scary. Yeah. I mean, because the thing that's really scary about these ants, though, is that these ants have figured out how to control humans, besides just eating humans, which they also do. They've figured out how to control humans and use humans to manufacture and run the sugar. There's a sugar plant, what do you call it? Factory, one of those places where they processing plant for sugar. I'm sorry, my mind went totally blank. No,
factory was fine. You didn't have to go all that extra way.
The place where they process sugar into refined sugar.
Anyway.
And these ants, the queen ant, who is, now this is how ants actually control the other ants? Like for real, I think? Mm-hmm. That they use pheromones, which are, chemicals that they secrete, from their bodies. That gets out their information that they tell the other ants to do what they want to do. Because these ants have been mutated, these ants have figured out that this pheromone that they produce, they spray it on a human, it instantly saps a human's will. Uh-huh. The ants have control over the humans. Mm-hmm. It's like that spell in Harry Potter. I can't think of what it is now. Oh. One of the Unforgivables.
Right.
That one. And so people are like, this whole town has been enslaved by these ants when they're not eating people. Mm-hmm. And, there's this big fire at the end of the film and all of the ants get blown up and it's a mess.
In addition to Joan Collins, the film also starred Robert Lansing, John David Carson, Albert Salmi, Jacqueline Scott, Pamela Susan Shoup, Robert Pine, and Irene Tedrow. A lot of good character actors in this. Robert Pine was in Chips at that time. He should have known better. Yep. And it's like, okay. Actually, no, Chips wouldn't premiere until September.
For those of you who thought that the special effects in Beginning of the End were truly stupid, Empire of the Ants, besides being in color, so that takes the stupidity up another level, there were scenes where they actually they had like models of ants attacking people and stuff like that, Mm-hmm. But they actually had scenes with actual ants where they would have the ants on a miniature set and then superimpose that onto the movie so they looked like real ants attacking people. But the problem was that sometimes the ants would just crawl up the sides of glass that they were in, so it looked like the ants were crawling up into the air and things like that, which ants, don't do usually. And it was just, it's not good.
No.
I mean, it's really not good.
It has a 0 rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
It deserves that.
But Joan Collins did receive a Best Actress nomination from the Saturn Awards for that role.
Yeah.
We have more giant bugs that aren't Bird-Eye Gordon coming up from the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm. When Subject Cinema returns.
Good times and great movies. Subject Cinema.
Want to listen to Subject Cinema on the go? Check out Stitcher. You can access all the latest episodes right from iPhone or Android. Check it out. Click on the Stitcher logo on our sidebar or go to Stitcher.com and search for your favorite PNR Network show. Get started today.
Want to be a part of Subject Cinema? Then email us. Your ideas, suggestions, and comments keep us going. SubjectCinema@PNRNetworks.com.
We probably can't cover the thousands of films made every year, but it's sure a lot of fun to try. Subject Cinema.
Bugs are everywhere as we come back to Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
It's go big or go to the big screen as we have all kinds of big stuff coming up in October for our Halloween shows. We hope you enjoy them. And if you do, please let us know. Drop us a line. Let us know what you think. We'll read it on the air. SubjectCinema@PNRNetworks.com.
Yep.
Let's go back to some of the non-Bird Eye Gordon stuff because I like... only one I like of his is Beginning of the End. You like Amazing Colossal Man. I don't really care for that one. We'll talk about that next week.
I remember that warmly from my childhood. It's
I just never liked that one. Or the sequel, which I just saw recently. But I do like some of the ones that came out in the 50s that weren't so goofy. And, I mean, you don't agree with the premise of this, but you have to admit this is a pretty terrifying prospect.
It is a terrifying prospect, and the special effects in the Deadly Mantis really aren't that bad.
Deadly Mantis was a great film. I don't think they never did Misty it, did they? No.
Yeah, they did.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure they did.
I don't remember, but I've seen it somewhere besides without it being Misty, and it's a good movie even that way. Craig Stevens, William Hopper, Alex Talton, Donald Randolph, Pat Conway, Florence Ames, Paul Smith, Phil Harvey, Floyd Simmons, Paul Campbell, and Helen J. are the principals. This is the first place I ever saw William Hopper outside of his role as Paul Drake on Perry Mason. And here he was Dr. Nedrick Jackson, a paleontologist called in by the Army to try and figure out the remnants of something they found in a outpost on the radar line.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That apparently soldiers had disappeared and they were trying to figure out what it was.
Yep. The first 5 minutes of this film or so are talking about radar and how important radar is. Yeah, we get it. Radar's important.
It was funny, though. It was a great little routine. I didn't know there was that many radar stations up that
I didn't care that were that many. I mean, it's one.
It was important.
It was
still
important.
Is important.
Yes. No, you're right.
This is probably the favorite role of all the stuff that I've seen William Hopper do. He's done a lot of other stuff, a lot of these other giant movies, and other movies of that type in the 50s and 60s. But here, he's intelligent. He's not played as a dummy, and the military comes to him for help. And when he does offer the help, and along with his assistant, played by Alex Talton, she falls for the main military guy that's their first contact.
Yep.
And it becomes a very interesting little love story as well as a horror big horror film.
Yes, and they did actually do this on Mystery Science Theater 3000 season 9.
Yeah. You recognize some character actors here. Best known among them, Donald Randolph, who plays General Ford, has done all kinds of stuff in the 50s and 60s. You spotted him immediately in that Vincent Price movie.
Yeah.
I don't remember what role he was playing.
Either, but it was like, that's
wow.
the guy from the Deadly Mantis.
Yeah. And Phil Harvey? No. Paul Smith is the guy that has a freak-out attack when Marge shows up with Ned at the big radar station in Alaska.
Yeah, you got to figure they're up past the Arctic Circle, and this is an Air Force base full of men.
Yeah.
And into that comes
a woman.
Dr. Ned and
a female woman.
Yeah.
He would go on to bigger stardom later on as a character actor, best known to the next generation, my generation, in his role for 3 seasons on the Doris Day Show. He was one of Doris's co-workers.
Let the cringe begin once they realize there's an actual female type lady of the opposite sex there.
The effects on this were really well done, I thought, as compared to some of the other ones.
Oh, yeah.
The mantis is realistic looking. It's scary when it's up close, and it's very much in
well, they
line
actually
with them.
do use a real mantis in the scene where you see the mantis from the exterior shot of it crawling up the Washington Monument.
Right.
That's an actual mantis.
Crawling up a model.
Right.
But it looks good.
But it does look good. No, it looks exceedingly good. This film actually is one of the few films that includes a giant, 50-foot what's-it, where the appearance of the giant 50-foot what's-it isn't because of, nuclear energy, toxic waste, the moon alignment, or whatever. This is a being from another time.
It was frozen in the Arctic and thawed out by volcano exploding in the South Seas, changing
This is basically
North Pole
the
ice
butterfly
pack, and
effect,
melting
yeah.
some solar ice.
Yeah.
Polar ice.
Yeah. So
Solar
something
ice?
so
No.
something happens in another part of the world and you wind up with giant bugs. Okay. Now my problem with this film, and I'm sorry, I'm sticking with this, and anybody out there who's a bug expert, if I'm wrong, write us and tell me I'm wrong. I contend that when this creature existed, and they bring this up in the film. Now this is a giant mantis. I mean,
It's 200 feet tall.
Yeah, we are not screwing around with how large this thing is.
This thing is bigger than the King Kong and Kong Skull Island.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I don't think there were any insects on this planet that were ever that big ever.
No.
But what do I know?
Yeah.
But, okay. So we're going to assume that when this thing was alive, back when it was supposed to be alive, back in whatever age Jurassic stuff.
Okay, anyway.
It was hot back then.
Right.
Somehow it got flash frozen, and all this time it's been chilling, literally, under the ice, and now all of a sudden, volcano erupts somewhere else, cracking the world, boom.
That's
Hello,
an
my
entirely
baby.
different
Hello, my
movie.
honey.
Don't go there.
You know, and out pops the mantis, who's all like, I'm here. I'm still saying...
Will you please stop using that phrase?
What?
Out pops, please. Honestly.
The mantis appears and he's like, I'm fabulous! And I'm famished because he starts eating anything in sight. And I'm sorry, I still contend, and you're not going to convince me otherwise, that, okay, there's this big, explosion, crack in the world.
That's a completely different movie.
I
Stop
know.
bringing it up. Anyway.
Mantis crawls out, it's all ready to rampage and everything like that, and goes, is it cold out here? Crash. I contend it would have died immediately because of the cold.
Honey, it was frozen. It probably, because of its exoskeleton and its size, was able to get to warm enough climates before it would have croaked. It was used to the cold. It was frozen for 200 million years.
I still think it would have... I think it would have taken a couple of steps and keeled over. I'm sorry. I realize that would have made a much shorter film. And this is another film where we have stock roaring insects.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think they sound like that. I'm sorry. I realize I'm not a bug expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I actually remember playing with praying mantis when I was a kid because they actually were some around where I lived.
I've only
in the
seen
summer.
one up close in my life.
And they were actually really neat, and they never bothered me, and I never bothered them, and I used to just kind of hang out and watch them. And trust me, they never made a noise that sounded like what would happen if a bull elephant and a lion had a baby. Because that's what it sounds like. I'm like, I don't think that's right, even if it is 200 and something feet tall.
What about the noise that tarantula makes?
Yeah, the maraca.
Also,
the maraca spider.
Again from earlier, a 1955 film. This one from Universal International, featuring John Agar, Mara Corday, and Leo G. Carroll among their top stars. John Agar, of course, is a B-movie king. Leo G. Carroll, best known for Mr. Waverly on Man from U.N.C.L.E. or as Cosmo Topper in the earlier television series Topper. Mara Corday, best known as Mrs. Klingon in Day of the Dove episode of Star Trek. And that's something else that bugs me about this movie in particular.
Okay.
Why is it necessary to give the female scientist a masculine nickname?
Because it's the 50s.
Her name is Stephanie, but she goes by Steve. What?
Because it's the 50s.
It's so stupid. I mean, I'm really... Where do you get Steve out of Stephanie?
Because it's the 50s.
Steph! Okay.
Yay, sexism.
Anyway.
Watch an episode of Mad Men and tell me that sexism back then wasn't the biggest monster around.
That was the 60s, though.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. Tarantula, where they actually used an actual tarantula.
Yeah. They got it to move around by blowing air on its hind.
On its hinder.
Yeah.
Well, somebody blew air on your hinder, you'd move too.
And also because they did use a real tarantula on miniature sets, it looks way more realistic than most of these movies.
Yes.
This movie is freaking terrifying
scary
in
as
places.
hell.
Yeah.
Now, spiders...
I don't like spiders. Tarantula is a great film.
Spiders
I love
would
it.
be the go-to for your, if I was a director and decided that I wanted to make a movie that would scare the pants off most people, and I wanted to make Attack of the 50-Foot What's-It movie, my first inclination would be to use spiders, because people are afraid of spiders, because spiders freak people out.
Like Jim Stafford said, I don't like spiders and snakes.
I mean, ignoring the fact that spiders are our friends, and that most spiders are our friends. I realize people.
We're not going to talk about the funnel web spider.
I realize people in Australia are right now going, "You have no idea what you're talking about."
Yeah.
You dumb Yankee. But anyway, most spiders are our friends. And if it wasn't for spiders, we'd be up to our armpits in bugs that are nasty.
Right.
If I was going to make a giant Attack of the 50-Foot What's-It movie, I would either use spiders or millipedes, because they freak me out. But spiders are just...
Millipedes are just worms with feet. Why would that bother
Lots
you?
of feet. They're just...
Well, yeah, but they're just basically
they're
worms.
They're creepy looking.
Centipedes are more creepy.
Yeah, actually, probably I'd use
And centipedes are gentle. There's nothing wrong with them.
Some of them are poisonous, though.
They're not poisonous to the human body.
Oh. They're hard to kill. I had to kill one once, and it took the heel of my boot to do it. And it was very crunchy.
That must have been a larger one.
I stopped wearing those boots, if I remember right.
Okay.
Too.
Anyway.
But spiders there's just this inherent thing in humans, and I don't really know what it is, that humans see spiders, for the most part, and we wig out.
Yeah.
I think it's been that way.
Because they're kind of creepy looking.
They're so alien to us,
yeah.
I think is what it is. I think the first time that a person, back when people lived in caves, the first person that saw a spider in the same cave as them, they probably moved.
Right.
They probably went and got another cave.
Yeah.
Because there's just something about them that it's not only the fact that they look so different than we do, is that it's also that they move so differently than we do.
Right, yeah.
That I think that just, it sets off something in people.
Right.
That you have spiders.
Well, let's get to the particulars here.
Especially, like in tarantula, you have the spider that moves very slow. Because tarantulas
it's a real spider movement.
Yeah, they're not like other spiders that do this, that, skitter places, and sometimes that really wigs people out.
Yeah.
And they don't jump, which is another nightmare altogether.
We'll talk about eight-legged freaks in a few minutes anyway.
That, tarantulas have that kind of very slow, ambling kind of, I'm going to get to you eventually kind of gait.
Right.
And that can be frightening in and of itself.
Which is just not true either, because tarantulas are not, by nature, aggressive.
No, they're not.
Not at all. They are actually people have them as pets.
People have them as pets. They're actually very fragile. They can be killed if you drop them.
Yeah, they have to be very careful with them.
Some of them are actually quite pretty. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want one on me.
No, I wouldn't either.
And I'd certainly freak the hell out if one dropped on me out of the blue.
Well, that wouldn't happen because they don't usually crawl up walls. They go into
or whatever.
Yeah.
This is a tarantula, which was directed by Jack Arnold. Well, it's only one.
Right now.
So there's only the one. But there's only one in this anyway.
Right,
so.
but we'll get to the one where there's more than one. Anyway.
Right. This actually occurs, and it is completely humanity's fault. Mm-hmm. This is another example of the idea that, that you have these professors.
This is a mad scientist's fault. Angry scientist's fault.
Well, they're not even doing that so much.
Okay,
it's,
fine. Just kill my jokes. I don't care.
Well, it's the whole idea of trying to solve the overpopulation, we're going to run out of food thing, with the whole idea, again, of people using, chemicals and science and radiation and all that stuff to make things grow. Now, why you would want to do that and have one of your test subjects be something that nobody in their right mind would eat anyway, I have no friggin' idea, but they decide to do that in this film with a tarantula that when we first see it has already been treated with the radiation and the experiments and all that, and is the body of the tarantula, the actual, thorax and all that stuff, is as big as a dog. Now you got to figure that size, and then you add the legs onto it. Hello, nightmare fuel. Now, in the film, we wound up having people exposed to this stuff too, and they don't get taller, they just get all messed up. And the spider winds up escaping and heading out into the wild. And as the spider escapes, it continues for some reason that I don't quite understand, because it's not getting the treatment anymore.
No, but it doesn't necessarily need it.
I guess, well, apparently not, because it continues to grow and grow and keep growing until we actually apparently hit the size where it's not going to grow anymore.
Right.
And that's pretty effing big. I know that's a scientific term. You might have to go look that up, but I think pretty effing big pretty much sums it all up.
Yeah. Just a couple of notes on this, because we got to get moving if we're going to do some other movies.
I know.
Nestor Paiva was the sheriff in this. Raymond Bailey appears as Dr. Townsend. You're not going to recognize him in this role. Many people won't recognize him in this
he's
role
all
because
screwed up.
No, it's because he doesn't have his toupee on. He's bald in this movie. Most people are used to seeing him with his toupee on as Milton Drysdale.
Oh,
on
that
Beverly
guy.
Hillbillies.
Yeah, that guy. I'm sorry.
And
that
so
one,
he
not the
doesn't
other
have
guy.
the toupee on, and it kind of throws you off. But he is the doctor in this. The whole thing is this is an entertaining, scary film.
Yep.
The makeup works. The transformation of Leo G. Carroll's character is terrifying. They did some great work with that.
And also, just cast-wise, we should bring up Clint Eastwood has
Clint
a
Eastwood.
vocal cameo, I guess.
Yep.
I mean, he is in the outfit.
He's the badass jet fighter that ends up killing the spider.
Yeah, he's the, doesn't he? I'm sorry, but I thought if you got lines, they had to give you credit. I thought
not back then. That's changed since this was made.
Yeah, because he's the hotshot jet pilot that shoots at the tarantula from above, and they wind up actually finally killing it by using napalm.
Yeah, which was new at the time. I have to be honest, too.
I bet you that smelled really good.
Of all the films he was in, I think this is my favorite performance from John Agar.
Really?
John is given a bad reputation because he did make a living out of doing B movies, and he was always, he was a very reliable actor, came and worked, knew his lines, was good to the other actors, and everybody who ever worked with him never had a bad thing to say about him.
No.
I loved him in all kinds of movies, but this one I think is his best performance. He has great chemistry with Mara Corday, and it works really well. And it's nice to see him.
As you said, they do use a real spider in this film, except for a few scenes. One of them being the close up of the spider outside the window when the spider's peeping on Steve, which is scary.
Yeah, just like the mantis was peeping on Marge.
Yeah, but at least a mantis only has those two eyes.
Yeah.
Spiders have more than one pair of eyes, and it's creepy.
There have been a lot of giant spiders in the movies, and we're not going to run down all of them.
Nope.
The most famous is Shelob, who appeared for the first time in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yes.
Great special effects from those.
Yeah.
There's also the spiders from Harry Potter and the second movie.
It's Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
The
Acromalata.
Yeah.
Which talk.
Yeah.
Because spiders are scary. Giant spiders aren't frightening enough. Let's have giant spiders that can talk.
Yeah. There was the terrible movie, The Giant Spider Invasion.
Yes.
Which we just got subjected to by Riff Tracks. Thank you so much, guys.
Yes, thanks, guys.
It's now out on DVD.
Spiders
and
from
demand
outer
if you want to
space.
see it on the Riff Tracks Live. And our favorite giant spider movie, I think, Eight-Legged Freaks, too, which has all kinds of different real spiders in it.
That was a comedy, though.
It was a comedy thriller, just like our favorite movie, which is Big Ass Spider.
Yes.
Big Ass Spider is a hilariously done horror film about a giant spider attacking Los Angeles. The effects are amazing.
Isn't that a giant alien spider, too?
No, it has alien. I think it has alien.
No,
DNA
it has alien DNA. That's right.
Injected into it or something.
Because the government found there was like something to do with alien DNA, and they injected it into a spider just because. I don't know why.
Here you got Greg Grunberg, best known as J.J. Abrams' favorite go-to guy, and Ray Wise playing the lead bad guy.
No, he's not a bad guy. He's actually a pretty nice general.
Is he? Who's the scientist guy? No, he's not. Is he the good general?
He's the good general.
Who's the creepy scientist guy? I've forgotten. It's been
a while since we've seen him.
Yeah,
we saw this
been
at
a few
the
years.
Underground.
We saw Underground Film Festival closing night's film, and it was really, really funny. And if you've never seen it, it's definitely worth checking out.
That movie is scary, though.
What?
Big ass spider.
It's scary in places because it's really well done.
It is really well done. It's a CGI spider.
It's funny as hell, though.
I mean, there's the one scene where the spider. This is another movie where the spider is growing.
Yeah.
Throughout the film,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a point where the spider is about, I don't know, the size of a cat.
Yeah.
That's when we first see it because it shows up. It's in a dead body.
Yeah.
And it's about the size of a cat, and it's like, that was the part I was like, I don't think I can deal with this movie, and he's sitting there patting my hand going, it's okay, babe, it's okay. I mean, that was the ironic thing, because usually that's the other way around. I'm doing that for him. I was just like, I'm freaking out. I'm completely freaking out. It's a fun movie, though. It is very fun.
Yeah, and they never did get the sequel that was teased yet.
No.
Which was the giant cockroach.
Giant cockroaches!
Statue of Liberty, which would have been fun, but, it's of all of the spider movies, Tarantula and Big Ass Spider are the best. Tarantula for sheer fun of terror, and Big Ass Spider for terror with a good dose of laughs. And they're both really, really great movies. We've got more giant things coming up
when Subject Cinema returns.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
eCinemaOne is your choice for great info and commentary about the world of film and entertainment. Daily trailer postings, the latest news and film reviews, commentary about the state of the industry, the weekly Subject Cinema and 3-Minute Weekend podcast, and so much more you won't believe it. New material is being posted daily, so join us each day and see what you're missing out on. Once you visit, you will always be back for more. eCinemaOne from PNRNetworks, eCinemaOne.com.
Blockbuster or bomb, it's all good for us. This is Subject Cinema.
Hey folks, we're looking at big things this month on Subject Cinema's horror month of Halloween screamy October stuff. I'm Kim Brown.
Screamy October
stuff. Woohoo!
Go big or go big screen. I'm TC Kirkham. Why haven't they made a giant butterfly movie?
They have.
They have?
Well, giant moth. I mean, Mothra.
Mothra's a moth. Isn't a butterfly.
Well, no. I mean,
like a giant monarch butterfly movie. Anyway, let's not go there. There are other little things that fit kind of in the insect world.
They're not
that
little
aren't
things,
quite
otherwise
insects, and we thought we'd get them in here in this segment, starting with the black scorpion.
Yes.
Not the terrible,
not the horrible
superhero thing from the 2000s, but the actual well done stop motion movie from the 1950s.
The long distance shots are good.
Yeah, they're not good up close.
They're not good up close because apparently these people never bothered to look at what a scorpion looks like if you look it in the face.
Yeah. The close-up shots are kind of ridiculous looking.
They're so not good. I'm sorry. I know some people might be like, well, Kim, you're not being very fair. But
we've only seen that once. We sat through it once. And
and it wasn't even the mistied version.
No,
it was just
it was on cable or on DVD or something, and it's like...
And we watched it because we thought, how bad could it be? Ah, ha, ha.
Yeah, this is terrible.
Boy, did we find out. The Black Scorpion, which stars Richard Denning, Mara Corday, again, from 1957.
Richard Denning. That's the guy that played the governor on Hawaii Five-0, right? And not the guy that was in all those bad Godfrey Ho movies. That's Richard Harrison.
That's Richard Harrison.
Okay, I had to try to delineate which one is which. Sorry.
He was.
I'm infected by the terribleness of Godfrey Ho movies.
Richard Denning was in a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but he was best known to modern audiences as the governor of Hawaii in Hawaii Five-0.
I guess
show. Yeah.
He was also the lead. He was also the hero in Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yep.
The guy that wasn't a dick. Anyway, moving back to what we were talking about.
He was the guy that was the dick. The other guy that wasn't the dick was Tormented guy, Richard Carlson.
Oh no, you're right. I'm sorry, I got it backwards. Sorry. Anyway, the Black Scorpion. Besides,
there's so many people in these movies. We get them mixed up all the time. Anyway,
the Black Scorpion, which actually technically could probably be called the Black Scorpions.
Yeah, there's more. There's
like a whole mess of them.
Yeah.
they come out of a volcano, which I'm like, what? You know, and they're gigantic prehistoric scorpions. So I guess they're cousins to the deadly mantis.
I guess.
Although they're not as large as, they're not that large. Are they? They're not like 200 feet long.
No, they're more along the size of them.
Yeah. I mean, which is still pretty friggin' scary when you think about something with pincers and a big poisonous stinger tail thing in the back.
The only flying thing that has a flying bug with a stinger that has a movie of its own is not a bee, but a wasp. Monster from Green Hell. With Jim Davis pre-joculing.
Yep. And the killer wasps. The killer wasps that are part of Food of the Gods.
Okay, yeah.
Not well shot.
Yeah.
Basically, it
Wasp
looks like
Woman doesn't count because she's not
basically, it looks like a bunch of black paper being like thrown around with wasp noises. Anyway.
But no giant bees still.
Yeah. Black Scorpion, which, as I mentioned, it's, there's a new volcano that shows up overnight in Mexico because of an earthquake.
Mm-hmm. Well, technically, geologically, that could probably happen.
Overnight?
If the seismic activity cracks where the magma pocket is, yes. That's how Mauna Loa operates.
You're not doing the Professor Frink voice from The Simpsons, though.
I don't know who that is.
Well, technically, if the magma pocket is hit directly, all that stuff.
I'm not a Simpsons fan anymore. I just stopped watching after about 8 seasons.
Somehow, an earthquake and a volcano had a baby, and we get giant scorpions. What? My biggest problem with this...
Going there.
No, I'm sorry. This is dumb. I'm like, what, the scorpions aren't on fire and shoot lasers out of their eyes? Right. You couldn't throw that in, too?
That's why I brought up the Monster from Green Hell. What else were we...
Well, my big problem with this film is, I'm sorry, this film does not... Oh gosh, how do I say this? I would think if a film is set in Mexico.
Oh, she's still talking about the Black Scorpion. No, I'm trying to move her off this movie.
I'm sorry. Well, my whole thing. Fine, it's racist. There, I said it. This film's basically the white savior shows up and saves everything, and I'm like, oh. Really? Wow.
Now she's turned into social justice warrior.
No, I'm sorry. It's just... anyway. All right. Moving on. It's a terrible movie. The close-ups are laughable. I'm sorry. The thing that really drives me insane about this film is the close-up of the scorpion. And it's got this real mean face with teeth.
Yeah.
I'm like, they don't have teeth.
Well, they might when they get that big.
And they don't have eyes like... They have, like, human-looking eyes. Right. I'm like... No.
Right.
I'm like this. I was just like, you people have not looked at a scorpion, have you?
No.
Like from not long distance. Anyway.
We saw Monster from Green Hell at the showcase of Spectacular B movies, and we wish we hadn't.
Oh boy.
It was terrible. The effects were terrible. The bees looked good, the wasps looked good up close, and like with the real shots of real wasps. But the effect ones that they used were paper mache.
The effect ones when we get the giant. The whole thing of this film is that wasps that were sent up into space crashed. The rocket that they were sent up in passed through cosmic rays or whatever
and crashed in Africa.
Crashed in Africa,
a volcano, right, or near a volcano.
Near a volcano or whatever. And so cosmic rays made giant wasps when in some other cases you get the Fantastic Four.
Or the Incredible Hulk,
anyway. I don't know. So the scenes where we have these slowly, and I mean slowly, moving giant wasps.
This whole movie drags. Trust me.
Yeah.
Takes an hour to get to the wasps.
Yeah. They look... The best way to describe them, I think... They look like carnival rides.
Mm-hmm.
They look like you would be able to hollow them out and sit in them and ride on them.
Yep.
And you don't want that in your monster.
Right.
When your monster shows up on screen, the first thing that happens in the audience should be gasps of horror, people shielding their eyes, or if you're really lucky, somebody faints. Not hysterical laughter.
We're not talking about giant claw till next week. Anyway, speaking of
Speaking of...
Yeah, it completely went out of my head. Anyway, let's go forward. Although they're not really bugs, we thought we'd mention these because they are giants in any case. They're not quite bugs, but they don't fit in the stuff we're doing in the next couple of weeks.
No. Attack
of the Giant Leeches.
Yes.
One of the worst films ever made.
It is. It is a terrible film. It is also a film that I actually remember quite fondly from my childhood because they showed it a lot on Creature Double Feature. Attack of the Giant Leeches takes place in a backwater town in Florida. No offense to Floridians.
Interesting. That's right where Food Empire of the Ants is set, too. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yep. So anyway, as it turns out, these leeches, and by leeches I mean 3, 2, maybe 3?
2 or 3,
I forget.
Yeah. That we see.
That are the size of a man. I mean, when they say giant, I mean, of course, a leech the size of a man would be a giant.
Yeah, a regular-sized leech is about, maybe at the biggest, 10 inches long.
Yeah, about, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I've never seen one up close. That they have been mutated somehow by the radiation from Cape Canaveral. And have apparently gone through all of the alligators. I know alligators live in Florida. I'm sorry.
It was a slip. Anyway,
they've apparently, nommed on all the alligators in the swamp, and have finally noticed.
Yes, I can just see that now.
What? What?
Giant leeches. Nom 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 nom. I don't think that's happening.
And they've started to snack on people. Now, leeches. Nature lesson for all y'all. Don't actually eat. They drink blood. Mm-hmm. So what these leeches have figured out, because apparently the leeches are smarter than the people in the local area, that's not
hard to do.
Anyway, moving forward, what they're doing, instead of killing people outright, they're holding people in this underwater, in this cave that they have underwater.
Yeah.
And they're feeding on them sporadically. I mean, granted, they still die, and then when they die, they just kick their bodies out and they float up to the surface, and they're all drained of blood, and it's gross.
Although, if they're not eating them for a while, you would think that the blood would replenish itself because it does.
Well, that's what I mean. They do that. Well, eventually, the person's going to. Apparently, they're probably going to die from shock. Although my whole thing with that, and I'm sorry, and I realize I'm asking for accuracy in a B science fiction movie.
A B science fiction? You're being great.
All right, a Z science fiction movie. But I'm sorry, I thought that leeches, when they attach to somebody and start sucking on their blood, don't they produce some kind of stuff that is not only an anticoagulant, but it's also something that you don't feel?
Yeah.
The leech feeding on you, which is
right.
how they exist, because they're like, you don't know they're there, so they're all just,
right.
And until they get full and fall off.
Right.
Or you notice them and
flick them.
Do whatever.
Carefully.
Do what?
Flick them carefully.
Flick them?
Get them off you.
Yeah.
Carefully.
How do you do that, though?
I don't know. I've never run into them.
I don't know either. I've never seen... When I watched this movie when I was a kid, I'm a kid from the suburbs. I don't know what a leech is. Never seen one in my life. This would actually be an interesting idea for a film if they had a budget of more than $5. Because the leeches are obviously people in garbage bags, with these mouth part, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I realize a leech on its own, an actual normal leech, just doing leech things, they don't really look like very much. They're just kind of like squiggly.
It's related to the slug.
They're like these little squiggly, slimy, gross-looking things. So it's not like you have a lot to work with, but if you wanted to make them frightening, that wasn't it.
Well, it could have been the killer shrews, which was even worse. There's also...
Would that be giant? Would that have been giant? Would you consider that?
Yeah, but it's an animal show, so we'll talk about that another time.
Right.
There's also the giant worms from Tremors.
Yes.
You've never seen Tremors. Tremors is one of the funniest horror movies ever made. Reba McEntire steals this entire movie. And Michael Gross, who starred in the series based on it when USA ran it in the mid-2000s. Kevin Bacon, Bobby Jacoby, not Burt Ward, Fred Ward.
Fred Ward, yeah.
It's a great film, and if you've never seen it, the effects are great. It's funny, it's fun, and I never knew Reba could act. This was her first acting job, acting debut.
And those are...
And she was great.
Giant worms.
They're like 150, 200 feet long.
Yeah.
They're huge.
Now, did they ever... and then they've made like a ton of sequels of that.
Yeah.
And,
I've never seen any of the sequels on the TV series.
Did they ever establish where they came from?
Probably, but I don't know what it was.
Or what? I don't know.
I don't know. I've only seen the first movie, and I've only seen it twice. And it's years ago, but it's fun.
Okay.
What about other bug or worm or spider or whatever movies that you like? We're going to handle more people and other animals and kaiju later on as we go through things. Mm-hmm. But we would love to know what you think of bug movies. And speaking of bug movies, but not giant bugs, but giant intellect.
Right.
Phase 4.
Right.
From 1974.
Yeah.
Kim is not a fan of this movie.
No.
I think it's a brilliant film. It's a science fiction.
Kim is not a fan of the end of this movie.
Well, you don't like the movie overall, in general.
It made me itch.
Yeah. This film has 3 people in it, and it's a really... what the premise of the film is that it takes regular ants, and they are given a collective intelligence by aliens. Now, that sounds a little bit out there, I know. But it was directed by the great title designer, Saul Bass. It's the only film he ever did, and it deserves a lot more than it got, because it's just a really off-the-wall and well-thought-of film. The critics liked it. Nigel Davenport, Michael Murphy, and Lynn Frederick are the only people in the film for the most part, and it's a terrifying movie.
Another film where the poster lies to you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. But it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. It's hard to find, but well worth the effort. So we'll have more giant bugs or giant stuff in the next couple of shows on Subject Cinema, and we will be right back.
Don't go away.
T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema.
Want to know what top titles from film and TV are hitting home video this week? Hi, I'm T.C. Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out Tuesday Digidex, our weekly roundup of all the new home video releases in the U.S. each week. Whether it's DVD, Blu-ray, or streaming you're looking for, we've got it covered. Tuesday Digidex, every Tuesday morning, from Subject Cinema at eCinemaOne.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
All movies, all the time. Subject Cinema with TC and Kim.
Just a quick note for our friends out there who have been following us for a long time. And somebody we follow has been active recently. 2016, an original male rising star, number 1 young rising star, Theo Taplitz, has recently put up his newest video on his Vimeo channel. Theo and I correspond every now and then, and we're talking about his stuff. And he's got this great little film called Grey Heart, which has won multiple awards at various film festivals in the last couple of years. I'll have the link in the show notes. You can go over to Theo's Vimeo site and see a whole bunch of his stuff. He is a great writer, director, and star in many of it. He's also scored some of them.
Yes.
He's 16 years old.
He is a scarily talented young man.
We love him, and he's very, very personable. We've enjoyed corresponding with him. His new film, Worm, opened at Fantastic Fest and got incredible reviews from the critics. And we hope it'll show up in theaters next year and also at some of our festivals. So keep an eye out for him. It's WYRM. That's the title character's name, too. And it's based on a short film that premiered at Sundance a couple years ago. The full-length version got raves at Fantastic Fest, and congratulations to Theo for that. And for his latest movie, go over and check out Grey Heart now. We can find the link in our show notes. And thanks for being a fan.
Subject Cinema.
So, where are we headed next on our bug, on our giant, we're headed forward animals.
Yep.
Sea and sky.
Sea and sky. I figured we'd talk about giant things that come at us from above or come at us from below the sea. So we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the really, really bad.
And really ugly.
And really ugly.
And the really stupid looking.
And the really stupid looking. You know who you are. Next week. When we come back. Yeah, okay.
Anyway, we have all kinds of stuff going on here on Subject Cinema. If you like to check us out, you can. eCinemaOne.com. We have lots of great stuff up there. More and more stuff coming up every day.
Mm-hmm.
Also, eCinemaBoston for our Boston-based fans. We'll try to do more there. Trying to ramp up coverage and stuff. And as we enter Boston's fall festival season, we have the two smaller ones going on now, and Jewish is about to announce, and Asian American is coming up. Or actually, I think it was this past weekend. And we've had a couple other ones recently. A lot of great stuff going on, and we'll have all that coming up. Plus, we have a number of other great podcasts, including...
Well, I have a couple of solo shows. There I have Platinum Rose's Garden, which is my Supernatural podcast, where I'm looking at season 15 of Supernatural, the final season.
Which she couldn't do one this weekend because there was we had a what they call a bombogenesis storm come through on Wednesday and Thursday morning. It knocked RCN off everywhere in the state, and it did not come back until Thursday night. Or no, Friday
morning.
Night.
Yeah,
Friday night. It was Thursday night, Friday. The storm was Wednesday night, Thursday. It got knocked out on Thursday morning. We did not have cable or internet back until Friday night.
Yep.
So it did not record, and they didn't get it on their on-demand system. So we're trying to find a way for her to see that episode so she can do our show this week, but we haven't found one yet. So just a little bit of explanation as to what was going on.
But I also have Ring Around the Rosie, which is my wrestling podcast, and a new channel called Platinum Rose Roleplay, where I have been putting up some of my voice acting work.
Go check out Platinum Rose Roleplay. It is awesome.
Oh.
She is expert. She's writing these. She's doing them herself. I'm helping with the editing, and it's a great
If they
show.
sound really good, if you think they sound really good, that's all him. He makes me sound good.
Well, the stories are great, too. And don't forget to leave a comment on YouTube if you like them. I have a show called Catastrophe Vortex. It still isn't back on the air. I'm sorry. We'll get it up soon. We also do our 2 mini shows, 3-Minute Weekend on Friday, Tuesday Digidex on Tuesday, covering theater releases and home video releases. Front Row 5 and 10, our countdown show, which can be anything and everything, usually on Thursday or Friday. We skipped this week because of the problems with RCN.
Yep.
And we've got other stuff in the works. I'm sad to say, however, we are not going to have our Halloween presentation this year. I was trying to get a script written, and it's just not gelling what I wanted to do. So we're going to continue to work on it, and Your Imagination Theater will premiere in January, we hope, with Athena Breakdown, which is the story I'm working on. And hopefully you'll be there and you'll like it and have fun with it. We hope to do 5 or 6 of these every year. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Plus, we have some other great stuff on the line also, and it's all part of the Patreon Patron Circle Club. For $5 a month, you can come over and join us there. We're going to have extra columns, extra videos, extra audio, several extra podcasts, lots of behind-the-scenes stuff coming from all of us, plus our friends at Cavebabble, Eric and Valerie Lyon. They can hear their show at Cavebabble.com. And our friend Anthony Lamberti of Aunt B's Comic Grotto and Nerd Grotto over at ComicGrotto.com. We'll all be taking part in that, and we hope that you will be a part of it. $5 a month gets you all these perks. It's 17 cents a day. Billed at the beginning of the month. If you join now, you don't even pay until November 1st.
Yep.
And if you join now, between now and November 10th, and we'll have a special offer up this week, you will be a part of our Thanksgiving thank you video, which will be up on Thanksgiving Day with all of our patrons listed, and we hope that you will do that for us. With your help, we can go on and continue a lot more stuff. You're supporting all our websites, all our podcasts, all our future projects, and you're getting exclusive stuff for just $5 a month. That's 17 cents a day. That's less than the cost of a latte in most places. Come on, you guys can skip a latte or a couple of soft drinks a month and shoot it our way. Please join our PNRNetworks Patron Circle Club at patreon.com/PNRNetworks.
Yep.
For all the details, and we hope you'll come on board.
And we hope you will follow us on other forms of social media as well. You can
There's other forms of social media? Really?
Yeah, there are.
Oh, my God.
You can follow me on Twitter at PlatinumRoseLady at Twitter.com.
I'm at PNRNetworks. I'm at eCinemaOne and eCinemaBoston on Twitter. I am at Popcorn and Roses, I believe, or maybe PNR Networks on Instagram, and Popcorn and Roses and TC Kirkham on Facebook.
Yep.
So you can come over and look at this there.
Yep. I think that's it.
I think that's it, too. So let's stepping on out of here and step on some more bugs.
Before they step on us.
For Subject Cinema, I'm TC Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
TFN.
Bye now.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema theme performed by Eric Lyon. Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2017 by PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.